Hey, Team BCN, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast episode. Laura Klumb, Vice President of Philanthropy, joins us today to tell us a little bit about her story, why she enjoys working at BCN, and what end-of-year giving is and how it impacts BCN and all of the team throughout the year. Laura, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Heidi.
Absolutely. So you've been at BCN almost 4 years. How did you come to work here?
Well, it's a bit of a story, but I actually had been in healthcare before at Cincinnati Children's Hospital years ago and did fundraising for Starshine Hospice, their hospital hospice there. I had worked intermittently since then at the Kentucky Horse Park here in Lexington. And when Susan Ware, my predecessor, was leaving BCN, she let me know. And I was so excited to come back to healthcare work and to working, especially in the world of hospice. It had been so meaningful to me in my past. So I applied for her position and am just thrilled to have it and being able to be here ever since then.
Yeah, for sure. What do you enjoy most about the work that you do at BCN?
It's two things. It's first and foremost, my teammates here at BCN. I have never met a more compassionate, committed, dedicated group of people in my life. Everyone here is here for the same reason, and it's just such a joy to be a part of what is really a team like I've never before experienced. And the second part I enjoy is really our donors, many of whom are grateful families, but not all of whom. Many are just community citizens that want to support the good work that we do. And so I'm getting to work with wonderful people both inside and outside of BCN makes every day of work for me just a fantastic pleasure.
Absolutely. I can totally agree with you on the team thing. I've been here not quite 3 months, but I've never met a group of people who are so compassionate and committed to what they're doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you talk about, you said something, the Grateful Families. Probably most people know what the Grateful Family program is, but for those who don't, could you just explain it a little bit?
Sure. Grateful families are just mostly what philanthropy uses as a term to describe donors who are also a family member that has or friend that has been cared for through BCN's many service lines. We do have a formal Grateful Family program where we reach out 4 times a year to patient families, I should say, who have been in our care, and ask them if they'd like to make a gift in honor of one of the caregivers from BCN team members that supported them. But beyond that, we really just use the term for any donor who makes a gift and has had some kind of a relationship receiving our care for themselves or a family member.
Okay. Do you find that a lot of times people who have received care from BCN want to give back?
Yes, by far the majority of our donors have had some kind of direct experience with our care. They've been touched by a team member. They've, just really felt cared for and want to pass forward that care to other families because they've experienced how much and how meaningful our services have been to their family. And they want to make sure other families have the same experience. So I would say the vast majority of our donors have had a personal direct relationship with our organization.
For sure, which speaks to the reputation of BCN as a company, but then it's made up of all the people within the company. So that's a really awesome thing. Like I said, I'm very new to BCN. At the time of recording, I've been here a little over 2 months now. But one of the words that was mentioned to me very early on is that people had to be called to spend their life in healthcare, especially hospice. So when did you first know that you wanted to use your skills and desire to help others through a job in healthcare?
Well, as I mentioned, I spent 8 years at Cincinnati Children's, which was my first foray into healthcare, and just really love giving back to people by making sure that their medical needs are met. That was a wonderful experience, and I knew I wanted to return to that. So in 2019, I was able to come join BCN and become part of our healthcare mission again, which is just so meaningful to me every day.
Absolutely. So this question, I know no day is probably the same for you, but what does a day in your life as VP of Philanthropy look like?
Well, you're certainly right. There are no 2 days that are alike. So my day can involve anything from meeting a donor at their home or for coffee or for lunch to talk about some of our service lines, to sending birthday cards to the donors for that month that have birthdays. Right now we're in the middle of signing over 1,000 holiday cards that we're sending out to our top donors from the
Oh my
last.
goodness.
And each of those gets a personal signature from all 10 of us on the team. So it's a big job. We'd make lots of phone calls. send lots of letters. Just pretty much our day is spent reaching out to our donors, cultivating them, sharing our mission, sharing some stories with them, asking them for gifts, and then a lot of time thanking and stewarding those donations as
Mhm.
well.
For sure. How do you build a relationship with a new donor, not a grateful family, but someone in the community who wants to give back? What does that look like?
So we have lots of ways. Every single donation gets a letter within less than a week that is signed by me and Liz and with personal notes added from one or both of us. And additionally, if they're outside of the Lexington area, they'll also get a letter from the executive director of the regional office in those regions. So they have a local thank you as well. Every donation of $100 or more gets a personal phone call from somebody on my team. And, we're just constantly looking for ways to reach out and personally thank those donors and steward them and let them know how their gifts make a difference. And hopefully, through this process, we are building longer and deeper relationships with them so they'll continue supporting us for many years to come.
Mhm. For sure. So there are 9 people on the philanthropy team, not counting yourself. Could you give us a little bit of a meet and greet for each one, telling us a little bit about what they do and how they support the mission of BCN?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So, our director of philanthropy for annual giving is Stephen Klatos, and Stephen is over all of our annual giving efforts. So, that's our direct mail, which we send out 4 times a year, our newsletter, which we send out 4 times a year, our employee giving campaign, our online giving campaigns like Good Giving, which is going on right now, our emails, our planned gift mailing. So any kind of outward communications, Stephen is overseeing. So he's kind of reaching out to the masses of our donors. And Stephen also has a personal portfolio of some of our more significant donors in Lexington that he works directly with one-on-one.
Okay.
The next person is Polly Ruddick. Polly just joined us a few months ago. She is our director of philanthropy for grants. So many of your listeners here will be comfortable to have spoken with Polly or worked with Polly because she works very closely with a lot of the clinicians and a lot of the managers on putting together grant proposals to local and governmental grant entities. So she's very busy doing that every day. And then we have regional gift officers in every region. So Mary Johan covers Frankfort and Cynthiana. Chaz Gayhart covers all 3 of our southeastern Kentucky regions, Hazard, Pikeville, and Barberville. And then Patricia Miller just joined us about a week ago, and she works in our northern Kentucky office. And those regional gift officers all have, again, portfolios of top donors that they're working with very closely one-on-one, meeting with them, calling them, reaching out to them, educating them about our services, and asking them for gifts. So that's kind of what their day-to-day looks like. Then we have a data team that is made up of Paige Proctor, our database manager, and Eileen Joseph. And they are entering all the gifts that come in. They're issuing all the thank you letters. They're entering all the information in our database and just kind of making sure that we are recording and keeping a good record financially of all the gifts that come in, that we're letting finance know so that we can make sure that everything that comes in is used the way the donor wanted it to be, and then that we're thanking the donors in a very timely way. Our development coordinator is Cassie Klein. Cassie helps part-time with the data entry and data team and the stewardship there. And the other part of the time, she works with Stephen Klatos on our annual giving efforts. And then finally, we have a wonderful executive assistant, Sheila Mills, that serves not only the philanthropy team, but also marketing and IT. She is a very busy lady.
She is. She is. She keeps the world running for a lot of people. Well, that's awesome. You have a great team of people working for you, and I think I've met, most of them because Patricia and I onboarded our onboarding was the same time, so
That's right.
yeah, yeah. When I think about philanthropy, I of course think of what you've already talked about, the giving, the donor relationships. But it's not only about the money, it's about, as you've said, stewarding those relationships and resources to help others do good in the world. Why is the relationship piece so meaningful to you in the work that you do at BCN?
So I will say that in general, the reason I love fundraising is just that piece. People who don't do fundraising often ask me, how do you ask people for money? How can you do that? I could never do that. It is a privilege for me to help people who want to do something in their community to make life better for other individuals, help connect them to what we do and help them fulfill their wish to make a difference in a very meaningful, personal way to them. So I could not be more humbled and honored to do what I do in working with donors, connecting them, helping them realize their goal, and then letting them know just how much their gift meant to the individuals and families that receive care because of their donation. It's especially meaningful at BCN because our mission is so personal and important to me, and because so many of our donors feel the same way and have had that long-term relationship with our services. And so they really get excited to know that their gifts are helping other people just like they were helped in the past.
Yes, yes, it sounds like you have a very rewarding job when you think about it that way.
It is
You
very rewarding.
Yes. So you and your team raise money throughout the year, but especially during the holidays. What is the importance of end of year giving?
Well, you made a good point. We do raise money all year round, and many of our donors give all year round. But I don't know if it's because of the tax laws or the holiday spirit, but always and everywhere I've ever been, and it's especially true here, that last quarter is just absolutely crazy. Everyone is making those last minute gifts before December 31st. So we kind of run full full steam ahead this time of year, meeting with donors and thanking donors and reaching out. The end of year giving is important because it is a way for us to raise a significant amount of money to help with the next year's services. We are on a calendar fiscal year here at BCN, so all these December gifts really help make sure that we are fiscally healthy at the end of our fiscal year, and that we're able to be in a great place to continue serving our clients as we start off the new year. So it's just a wonderful time for us to really feel the generosity of our donor community, and we call that our caring community, and we just love them and are so grateful for everything that we are given this time of year to support our patients.
Hmm. You kind of already answered this just now, but how does the end of year giving impact team members at BCN all year long? If there's anything else you wanted to say about that.
Well, I would just say that, we allow our donors to designate their gifts however they wish. So
Hmm.
if they don't make a designation, it's just general support to, pay our bills, pay our salaries of our team members, keep the lights on, all that good stuff. But a lot of times donors make gifts for a very specific purpose. So they might make a gift, just for example, to Bright Path or to integrative medicine or to our bereavement program. And so that gift, when that is designated that way by a donor, we are 100% committed to making sure it gets used the way they wanted. So we work very closely with finance to make sure that if a gift comes in on December 31st and it's meant for integrative medicine, music therapy, that's put in the fund and earmarked so it can only be spent the following year for that purpose. So much of what we receive at end of year is really helping us continue serving our patients and operating our many programs many months into the future.
Definitely, definitely. And employees also have opportunities to join BCN and giving. Would you want to say a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I am so glad you asked about that. I know that it feels like philanthropy reaches out to employees a lot about giving, and I know how much blood, sweat, tears, effort, and energy every single one of our team members gives every day through their jobs. And I'm glad to share the message that we are not trying to be greedy, or put an expectation or anything like that on team members. Why we do that is that our outside supporters, especially many of the foundations and grantors that we work with, ask us what percentage of our board gives and what percentage of our BCN team members give on an annual basis. And if every team member just gives $1 a year or delivers one in-kind item, a can of food or a holiday gift for a Bright Path child or whatever it might be, that counts towards that participation. And the higher our participation, the more likely we are to receive community support. So that's why we ask folks to give to us on an annual basis. And we try and make it as easy as possible. So we do things like the food drive we just had, the Bright Path holiday drive we're doing right now, but also allow for opportunities on SharePoint to make a one-time gift, to take a recurring gift out of your paycheck, to give PTO, or to make a gift to the Compassion Fund to help fellow team members. So all those are everything that you do as far as a donation to BCN is going to count towards that employee giving participation percentage that is so important to our work.
That's really cool. We all have difficult days, even though both of us are on the administrative side and aren't directly working with patients. We all have difficult days. Can you tell me a story that keeps you going when it would just be easier to throw in the towel, especially considering like sometimes the heaviness of the hospice work that we do?
We are so fortunate in philanthropy that we every single day get in the mail mission moments was what we call them. But
Mhm.
we get stories from families. They'll send a note or a letter in with their check, telling us of the work that we're doing and how it made a difference. And so every day we see firsthand the importance of the community of the work that's being done in our communities, and that's what keeps me going. And specifically, there's some that just stick with you. I believe it was in Frankfurt, there was a young father who was in hospice care, and we went over and beyond to allow him to take his family to the movies before he passed. In Lexington this past year, we had a little 6 or 7 year old girl who we threw a huge Disney princess birthday party right before she passed. And just the pictures and the stories from that day is something that'll stay with me forever. In
Mhm.
Northern Kentucky right now, our direct mail at the end of year, our story in that piece was shared by a family in Northern Kentucky whose young son has been dealing with cancer and was in our hospice program, but actually has had some good news that made him no longer currently eligible for hospice, but he got moved over to Bright Path. And so he's still receiving wonderful care from integrative medicine and Bright Path. And he and his family know that should they ever need to come back to hospice, we're going to be there for them for that part of the journey as well. So those kind of stories just, they make me realize, A, no bad day I'm having is that bad. But,
Mhm.
but B, everything I'm doing is so meaningful and for such a purpose that it just, keeps me uplifted and going every day.
Yes, that's one thing I really appreciate about BCN that even in the role that I have on the administrative side, I can see how what I do connects to our larger purpose. And that really makes me happy every day.
Absolutely.
Yes. So before I shift to kind of a couple of our get to know you questions, is there anything else you'd like to say that I didn't know to ask you?
I think I just want to say thank you to everyone in this organization who supports the work of philanthropy. We know that most people aren't out there asking for gifts, but gosh, the social workers and the nurses and the bereavement counselors and the chaplains and the finance team and the marketing team and so many teams contribute to what we do. And I like to say everyone is part of philanthropy because every interaction you're having with a patient family can lead to a gift and a relationship. And we're just so grateful for that. So thank you to everyone for supporting our work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what do you like to do for fun, Laura?
well, well, I laugh because I have my birthday gift this year to myself with my husband's reluctance was a new puppy. And
Oh,
that puppy,
yay.
that puppy is my pride and joy, but also is a holy terror. And has so far this week eaten through 2 quarts and a tennis shoe of mine and a tennis shoes of my husband. So I'm not sure
Hmm.
it's fun or a challenge, but we're just trying to train him and make him a better part of our family right now.
I
But
love
yeah, he's great. But outside of that, I love cooking, I love reading, just and
Mhm.
being with my two. I have 2 kids in college and grad school, and just love being with my daughters when they're able to join us at home.
For sure. So, I'm a dog lover too, so I have to back up to your dog. What's your dog's name?
Well, I have 3, but the newest one is Daniel Boone, and he is a rescue, and he's a Portuguese water dog, and he looks like a walking Muppet, and he is all legs and all energy, and has absolutely no spatial awareness of where his limbs are at any time. And then I have 2
Oh.
basset hounds who are older and not so thrilled with their new little brother, but dealing, and that is Henry Clay and Martha Lane. So you can see we have very distinguished dogs at our house.
You do, you do. So, Martha Lane, funny story. So, I'm originally from Breathitt County in Eastern Kentucky, and we had a low water bridge on our road for like before I was born. So the year I was born, she came down because they had built a new high water bridge and she came down to dedicate it. And so she held me as a baby. I have no
Oh,
recollection of this, but I always take great pride in knowing that she, had a part in my life. So
well, I've met Governor Collins several times, and I'm just a big fan of hers. And I shared with her one time that I named my dog after her, but she was not as amused by that as I was.
she should be very honored, I would think. All right. So now for our last question. Because this podcast is about getting to know our team members a little bit more, what is one thing that others may not know about you?
Well, I'm going to leave it a teaser and then people will have to ask me. In my past 20 something years of fundraising, I have had the opportunity to meet many different celebrities as part of some of the fundraisers I've been involved with, and including Sidney Poitier and Jay Leno and many others. So if you want to hear those stories, you have to ask me personally.
Okay, I like that teaser. So thank you, Laura, so much for being part of the podcast today. It's been a joy to get to know you a little bit more and hear about the fantastic work that the philanthropy team does every single day.
Well, thank you, Heidi. I'm so glad to have this opportunity.